I think you're going to be keen to try this peachy little cocktail that's a little bit sweet, but very, very flavorful. Let me show you how to make a peachy keen. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Matt, I'm the Whiskey Nerd, and like I said, today I'm making a highball that's a little bit sweet but very, very tasty. And I actually got the idea for this cocktail when I reviewed this whiskey right here. This is the Two Stacks Irish Whiskey 21-year-old single grain Irish whiskey that was finished in a sweet white wine cask. Now, this here is super limited edition and it's also quite strong at 58% alcohol by volume, so I'm not using this whiskey for the cocktail. I'm using this whiskey right here. This is also from Two Stacks, but it's their more like kind of basic level blend. It is mostly single grain whiskey, so you're gonna get some of the same flavors as that, but you're just not gonna get that big sweet white wine finish. Or yeah, so it does come in at 43% alcohol by volume, which does give it a little bit of weight, gives it a little bit of presence in the glass than like a whiskey that 40% wouldn't have, but just means that the whiskey has a bit more presence and isn't completely dominated by the other ingredients. Speaking of those other ingredients, I've got a little bit of this here. This here is a Bianco Vermouth. So it's not like a white vermouth, which is like typically quite dry, quite bitter almost. This here is a Bianco. So it is like, still has those like aromatized vermouth kind of notes, but it just has a little bit of sweetness. Not as sweet as like a Rosso vermouth, but just something a little bit sweeter, but still giving you those classic bitter, herbal, aromatized notes you get in a vermouth. I've also got some Archer's Peach Schnapps, which is just a like peach schnapps. I think it comes in at 18% alcohol by volume, and it is very sweet, very peachy, so it is going to give us our sweetness for our highball. I've got a little bit of freshly squeezed lemon juice for some citrus, a touch of sugar syrup, because I'm also be topping this at the end with just plain old soda water. Rather than like a ginger ale or like something that has sweetness in it, I'm going to be using just plain old soda water. I'm going to give it a touch of sugar syrup just to lighten up and make it a little bit more of that kind of fun, sweet, easy to drink cocktail. And I think that's enough time talking about the cocktail. I think it's time we make it. So it is actually going to be a cocktail I make in the glass. So I'm going to get my nice highball glass and get my measure. I'm going to start measuring out my ingredients, starting off with my whiskey. I'm going to go in with 45 ml or an ounce and a half of my Irish. You don't have to use this whiskey, but for me, it's nice. It's on brand with that Two Stacks Irish whiskey I reviewed earlier this week, and it's a nice little whiskey. So I'm going to go in with 45 ml, but you can use, like I said, any whiskey you like. I wouldn't actually recommend using like a bourbon or something really strong here, but if you have like a lighter, softer bourbon, yeah, you could use that there. Next up, I'm going to go in with my vermouth. Like I said, this is a Bianco Vermouth, so a little bit sweet, but not like actually properly sweet. It's just not like a dry vermouth, which is quite bitter. So I'm going to go in with 20 ml of this Bianco Vermouth from Martini. You could use, again, whatever Bianco Vermouth you want. Me though, the Bianco's fine for me, so I'm using the Bianco. Just like that. Then I'm going to go in with 20 ml, again, of my freshly squeezed lemon juice. Always use freshly squeezed if you can. And then 30 ml of my Archer's Peach Schnapps. You could use, this is very sweet, you could use whatever one you want. You could use like a creme de pêche or different flavors. But for me, I think Archer's is fine. Archer's is nice. Archer's is easy to get, so I'm using Archer's. Just in there, like that. And then, like I said, just a touch of sugar syrup, just to lighten up, because when I was playing around with this cocktail, I was like, oh, do I add more of the peach? And I added a bit more of the peach, brought like 45 ml, but then all I could taste was the peach. So I said I just wanted to add a little bit of extra sweetness without adding any extra of flavors. So I said this here, plain old 1-to-1 sugar syrup is what I wanted. So a single bar spoon, just about 5 ml, maybe even less than a full bar spoon, just into there, just to give you that little bit of extra sweetness without adding any extra flavors. Then I'm gonna get a spear of ice, and I'm gonna drop that in there and give it a quick little mix, just to make sure that sugar syrup, make sure everything is fully incorporated through before I top it off with my soda water. Yeah, just like that. And now I'm gonna top it off with my just plain old soda water. Just put it into a glass bottle just so it looks fancy. Just up to the top. Plain simple, just like that. For a garnish, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a simple slice of lemon, pop that over the edge, pop a straw in, give it a final little mix. Just make sure all that soda water is fully mixed through, and that right there is how I make a peachy keen. Now real quick, before I taste this cocktail, if you're new here, scroll down, thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button. I put out whiskey reviews every Wednesday, like the review of that 2-stack sweet wine. I also put out cocktail recipes featuring whiskey like this every Friday, and every now and then on Monday. I put out videos where I talk about whiskey, I talk about the industry, I compare whiskeys, I make different cocktails. If you want to see those, make sure you hit subscribe and let me know in the comments if there's a cocktail you think I should review in the future. But for now, let's taste this one. Cheers. Oh yeah, that's lovely. I mean, the peach isn't dominating. It's there, it's present, and like I said when I was mixing it, I'm glad I don't go in with too much peach, because if you went in with a lot of peach, like, you'd only taste the peach, and some people might want that. If you want that, you could go in with more peach and just skip the sugar syrup. But for me, I like being able to taste the whiskey, the little bit of bitterness, herbal notes from the vermouth, the sweetness from the Archer's Peach Schnapps, a little bit of sharpness from the citrus, and then just it's all a little bit rounder, a little bit sweeter, a little bit richer, and more easy to drink because of that little bit of sugar syrup that comes through and gives you a nice, rich highball flavor. Yeah, it's definitely something I think I could make like a batch of this. I could make a whole pitcher of it, pour it out as like a welcome drink with some of my friends who are coming over for like a barbecue or something, where you want something that's a bit long. It doesn't have a huge amount of alcohol. It's got a fair amount of like, you know, non-alcoholic stuff in there with the water, and it's got that ice to keep it nice and cold. And for me, that's like the perfect kind of highball. One you can just completely session, go through and have a good time with. So I'm going to keep on enjoying it. I'm going to keep on having a good time with it, and I'll see you next time. Sláinte.